The Buddha in Your Mirror. The Road to Enlightenment. Today there are many schools of Buddhism, perhaps even thousands. The British scholar Christmas Humphreys once wrote, "To describe Buddhism is as difficult as describing London. Is it Mayfair, Bloomsbury, or the Old Kent Road? Or is it the lowest common multiple of all these parts, or all of them and something more?" As the Buddhist philosophy gently flowed from India, north from China and Tibet, south into Thailand and Southeast Asia, it tended to absorb and be influenced by local religious customs and beliefs. The Buddhism that spread to Tibet and China and eventually to Korea and Japan was called Mahayana, meaning greater vehicle. That which spread southward to Southeast Asia and Sri Lanka was called Hinayana, for lesser vehicle. A pejorative term applied to the Mahayanas. The Hinayana schools, based on the earlier teachings of Shakyamuni, typically emphasized a strict and highly detailed code of personal conduct geared toward one's personal salvation. The only Hinayana school today is Theravada, or teaching by the elders. The Mahayana schools emphasized the need for Buddhism to be a compassionate means for common people to attain enlightenment, to search for a practical method that could serve as a vehicle for greater numbers, the greater vehicle, to make the journey to Buddhahood. The profusion of different Buddhist sutras and theories came to be a source of great confusion, particularly in China in the 1st and 2nd centuries. At that time, Chinese scholars were confronted with the random introduction of the various sutras of the many Hinayana schools as well as the Mahayana scriptures. Perplexed by these diverse teachings, Chinese Buddhists attempted to compare and classify the sutras. By the 5th century, the systemizing of the Buddhist canon had become very advanced. In particular, a Buddhist monk named Chi, later known as the great teacher Tian Tai, developed the definitive standard known as the 5 periods and 8 teachings, based on his own enlightenment, which may have rivaled Shakyamuni's Tian Tai's system classified the sutras chronologically as well as from the standpoint of profundity. He determined that the Lotus Sutra, the penultimate teaching of Shakyamuni expounded toward the end of his life, contained the ultimate truth. Tian Tai formulated this truth as the principle of 3,000 realms in a single moment of time. It employs a phenomenological approach describing all the kaleidoscope emotions and mental states that human beings are subject to at any given moment. The theory of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life holds that all the innumerable phenomena of the universe are encompassed in a single moment of a common mortal's life. Thus, the macrocosm is contained within the microcosm. The vast dimension of life to which Shakyamuni awoke under the Bodhi tree was beyond the reach of ordinary human consciousness. Tian Tai described this ultimate truth as 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, recognizing that the Lotus Sutra was the only sutra to assert that all people, men and women, good and evil, young and old, had the potential to attain Buddhahood within their lifetimes. A crucial question remained. How could common people apply this to their lives? Toward that end, Tian Tai advocated a rigorous practice of observing the mind through meditation, delving deeper and deeper until the ultimate truth of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life was grasped. Unfortunately, this type of practice was feasible only for monks, who could spend indefinite periods of time contemplating the message implicit in the Lotus Sutra. It was almost impossible for people who worked for a living and had other things on their minds. The full flowering of Buddhism was not to be accomplished until it migrated along trading routes to Japan. It would not be widely practiced and revered today without the incredible courage and insight of a 13th century Japanese monk named Nichiren, who brought the Lotus Sutra into sharp focus in a way that had a direct impact on people and their daily lives. Modern-day Buddhism. Nichiren, born in Japan in 1222, gave concrete and practical expression to the Buddhist philosophy of life that Shakyamuni taught and Tiantai illuminated. He expressed the heart of the Lotus Sutra, and therefore the Buddha's enlightenment, in a form that all people could practice. He defined this as the invocation of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, based on the title of the Lotus Sutra. His achievement was akin to translating a complex scientific theory into a practical technique. Just as Benjamin Franklin's discovery of electricity was not harnessed for practical use until many years later when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Shakyamuni's enlightenment was inaccessible for all but a few until Nichiren taught the fundamental practice by which all people could call forth the law of life from within themselves. His realization of this principle had the power to directly affect and move the people who encountered it, heralding a new epoch in the history of Buddhism. He had revealed the ultimate Mahayana teaching, the greater vehicle by which all people could journey into Buddhahood. In Nichiren's own words, a blue fly, if it clings to the tail of a thoroughbred horse, can travel 10,000 miles, and a green ivy that twines around the tall pine can grow to 1,000 feet. For the first time, ordinary people could take a journey previously possible only for saints and sages. The Buddha in your mirror. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. See you next time.